All right, so on page 275 today, we are going to talk about triangle congruence. Triangle congruence by today we've got ASA, which is short for angle side angle, and AAS, which is angle angle side. So postulate 4.3, angle side angle congruence. States that if two angles and the included side of one triangle are congruent to, we're going to use the symbol, are congruent to two angles and the included side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. Angle side angle. If you look at the abbreviation, the ASA, angle side angle, the S is in between the two A's. That means the side has to be touching the two congruent angles. And what we mean by that is if we've got this triangle ABC, and the second triangle, EDF, angle side angle. So watch this, angle side angle. So if I start at angle B and I go angle side angle, all right, angle included side and an angle, congruent to angle included side and an angle. The congruent side has to be touching the two congruent angles. All right, so if that's the case, then we can say that triangle, I'm going to call the one on the left BCA. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it BAC, is congruent to. If we started with the B on the triangle on the left, what vertex do we start with in the triangle on the right? Very good, triangle D. All right, and if A was our second vertex, then what's our second vertex in this description? E. All right, DEF. Triangle BAC is congruent to triangle DEF by angle side angle. So that's an example of two triangles being congruent by angle, side, angle. If you were to draw a couple of other triangles, let's say we got TPA and NBR. Now, in the triangle on the left, if I go angle, side, angle. But then in the triangle on the right, I go angle, and then another angle, and side BR. Do you see the difference now, how the congruent side is not touching both angles? If the congruent side is not touching the two congruent angles in both shapes, then you cannot use angle, side, angle. So right here, these triangles are not congruent by angle, side, angle. Side NB would have to have one tick mark on it to be congruent by angle, side, angle. All right, so do you see the difference between congruent by angle, side, angle and not congruent by angle, side, angle? All right, so then turn to page 276, and let's get one more postulate in your notes. It's the fourth and final postulate for this section in regards to congruence, and it is angle, angle, side congruence. And angle, angle, side. In the last postulate, the S was in between the two congruent angles. The side was between the two congruent angles. Now the side is by itself. So we go angle, angle, side congruence. So we're going to say if two angles and the non-included side. So if two angles and the non-included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and the non-included side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. All right, so let's draw a picture. If we take a triangle here on the left, ABC again, triangle on the right, X, Y, and Z. All right, so if we follow the acronym when we're marking these sides, and we go angle, angle, side, angle, A, then angle, C, and then a side. That's an example of angle, angle, side. The side is called non-included because it's not touching both of the angles. So we go angle, angle, non-included side, congruent to. If I start up here at X, I go angle, angle, non-included side. Okay? Angle, angle, side. We're talking about a non-included side. The side is not touching both of the congruent angles. So then your congruent statement would be the triangle BAC is congruent to triangle. If we start with B, it's the angle with no arc marks. Then we're going to start with angle Z. The second letter in our description of the triangle on the left was A, and angle A has one arc mark. So we're going with angle X in the triangle on the right, and then angle Z, X, and finally Y. Triangle BAC is congruent to triangle ZXY by, this is angle, angle, side congruence. All right, so does everybody see the difference between angle, and angle, angle, side? Yes? Very good. Now, if you want to add it to your notes, you've already got these postulates in your notes, but if you look at page 278, there's a nice concept summary up towards the top of the page where it kind of summarizes the 4 postulates regarding triangle congruence. There's an example of side, 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 angle, angle, and angle, angle, side. So if you want to get that in your notes at some time, it might be helpful because you can condense it all down and have it on in one area. All right, so today you're going to be using triangle congruence the same way that you did last week in order to solve some problems or solve for variables and find angle measures. And I want you to look at page 282, problem number 33. And you're told triangle RST is congruent to triangle JKL. All right, so in this case, what you're going to be doing is drawing a triangle. So I'm going to get you started here, and then I'm going to let you finish it. But if we get triangle RST, and it's congruent to triangle JKL, and then you're given a lot of information about the triangle. RS is 7. So RS is 7. ST is 5. R to T is 9 plus X. J to L is 2X minus 10. JK is 4Y minus 5. Draw and label a figure to represent the congruent triangles, then find x and y. All right, so we've drawn the figure. The congruent statement said RST is congruent to JKL. So let's mark this thing up. Here's what I mean. RS. Here's side RS. Which side is it congruent to? JK. So we put one tick mark on each of those sides. RT. I'm going to put two tick marks there. RT is congruent to which side? JL. Very good. So we're going to put two tick marks there. All right. ST. Side ST. I'm going to put three tick marks on it. And which side is it congruent to? KL. So we put three tick marks here. All right. So now we've got our figure drawn. We've got our tick marks. Now we can write equations. Agreed? So if we need to solve for x and y, let's see. We take our one tick mark, and what do we make 7 equal to? Very good, 4y minus 5. And now we're dealing with x. All right, so we've got a 9 plus x. And what are we going to set it equal to? Good, the 2x minus 10. All right, so sometimes the problems with a lot of words and a lot of expressions are a little bit intimidating, but just break them down, draw the picture, take your congruence statements and mark your sides that are congruent or your angles that are congruent, and then you can write your equations to solve for your variables. I'm going to let you guys finish that. Okay? Dealing with angles, what's angle R congruent to? J, good. And angle S is congruent to K. And that leaves angle T congruent to angle L. So whether you're finding angle measures or you're finding side lengths, use your congruent statement to label your congruent pieces, sides and or angles, and then use your tick marks or arc marks to write your expressions to solve for the variables. All right, so again, a lot of the stuff that you're doing today is review. So your practice problems for today are going to start on page 280. (14) and 15. (27). 29 and 30. And then 33 we've started, so I want you to finish it. And problem number 34. All right, again, wherever you can, make sure you're checking the odds in the back of the book. And hopefully by now everybody's completed their electronic assignments from last week, because I don't even know if they're open anymore. I don't think they are. All right, any questions?